I'm currently working in Module 24, and the work that we're doing is trying to, at this point, create a bill of materials or some sort of a schematic diagram that allows us to see, here's my production process, here are the different levels of the process, so that I can kind of break it down and get down to the raw materials so that I can track how ordering needs to occur. So I went through the example 18.2 in your textbook, in order to kind of work my way through this chair assembly and to show you some of the work I did. Now, for all I know, I chose the absolute hardest way to do this down here in the mathematical portion, but it was the way, at the very least, you can see as I go through it how my mind was working in order to try to process this problem. So the schematic was simply made from the listing. The start of the example says the final assembly of a chair requires leg assembly, the seat assembly, and a back assembly. So I like to think of it as the first layer, and I think that's how your author's thinking of it too. In fact, I think of it almost like when I go into a hotel, you know, the first floor, all the numbers start with a 1, and then the rooms are just kind of ordered numerically after the 1. So this 1 is my first layer, or my assembly layer. So I have to have a seat assembly, and it comes from some subparts. Leg assembly that comes from some subparts. The seat assembly, just the seat. So I don't have anything below it. It's already at its most basic level. Whereas the back assembly, there are 3 different parts that have to come in so that we assemble it and create a back assembly. All right, let's go to the subassemblies below the second layer. Okay, notice the 2's on the front of everything. It's a very nice, I don't know that this was intentional or not, but it is a very nice ordering tool when you're ordering layers to do this numerical sequencing that your author is doing. Well, in order for me to create a leg assembly, I need 2 legs and 1 crossbar. Those 2 objects are combined to create 1 leg assembly. Seat assemblies, remember there's no subparts, so the seat assembly stands alone. The back assembly, there are 3 subparts. I need 2 side rails, 1 crossbar, 3 back supports. So this schematic, this is the bill of materials schematic, which there's more than one way to do this, but this is the way, this is a nice visual way for our purposes. Now, the next thing to do is to kind of go down and say, okay, well, that's great, but how do I find out, okay, well, what do I have in inventory? What does each chair require? How many chairs could I make with the existing inventory? And so on. And let me try to walk you through this process, because I struggled with this, trying to figure out, not the math, I struggled with the way to make Excel do the math for me without me kind of having to sit out and reason everything out one thing at a time. So here's what I did. I said, okay, here are the numbers of things that are in inventory. Here's what I need for each chair. Those numbers are simply coming from up here. Okay, so 1 chair requires 1 leg assembly. So here's what I did. I said, okay, let's take our inventory and let's decide how many chairs each item in inventory could make. Okay, so well, that was pretty easy. All I had to do is say, by the way, any guesses why I chose the floor? Right, inventory can't make fractional output, so I chose this floor function, which is going to take me down to the, it will take any decimal number, and the floor takes us down to the integer that's at kind of the left-hand side of the decimal number. It takes me to the nearest integer if I have a fraction, if that helps. So if my fraction were 2 1/3, it would take me to 2. If it was 3 2/3, the floor would take me to 3. So it is very useful. Okay? So I'm dividing a chair requires one part, so I don't have to worry about a remainder. Well, what does that mean? Well, I have two things in inventory. I have to have one of them to create a chair, so I can make two chairs and I don't have any spare parts left. Okay. So then I look at the legs. Well, legs require that in order for me to construct a leg assembly, I have to have two legs. So with my inventory, I could have ready at the second level two assemblies. Okay. So I could make two chairs with what I have left over. And again, the remaining inventory, there is no inventory remaining because 4 is divided by 2 and it divides evenly. So I didn't have any issues. So, but I put this remainder over here for the purposes of my very last item. Okay. Crossbars. This one was odd because I have crossbars in two places. And I kind of fudged around a little bit to see what would make my life more, or make life the simplest. Once I got the math done, doesn't matter how we line it up. If I've got 3 up here, that means that I have one less down here. And my math will still work out. But it was easier when I was constructing things to just put the 2 here. Okay. Let me continue down this line. I have no seat assemblies, so I can make 0 chairs with my inventory. But I do have 10 back supports, but I only need 3 of them to make a chair. So I could make 3, but then I still have 1 slat left over. Now, this mod function, what it does is it takes my first number, 10, it divides it by 3, and then the mod tells me, okay, well, what's the remainder? So the remainder, when I divide 3 into 10, is 1, so I expect a 1 to show up. Okay. All right, now I'm looking at my inventory, the number of chairs that could be made at this first level. So, maybe maybe a better way to highlight this with first level would for me to somehow mark those first levels, and then that would make them stand out a little better. Okay? So with my inventory, things that are already assembled, first level, I could make 2 chairs. Well, I need to make 10, so here's what I did. I just said, okay, I'll have how many chairs left after I've made my 2 chairs? Well, I'll have 10 minus those 2 chairs. I would have 8 chairs left. At this level, I don't have any inventory. I need to make 10 chairs, so I'm going to have to make 10 seat assemblies, or, given the seat assembly inventory I have, it's not going to help me reduce the number of chairs I need to make. All right, now down here, I had an inventory that allows me to construct 1 back assembly. So I can reduce the number of chairs I can make with my back assembly by 10 minus that 1. Well, now the next question that I had was, okay, well, how many could I reduce that first level anymore by using my second level inventory? All right, well, my second level inventory, as we calculated earlier, can make, in the leg assembly portion, it could make 2 more chairs. And here's what I mean by when I said I fudged earlier. I could make 2 more crossbars. I could make 2 more chairs with my crossbars. Okay, so what does that mean? That means then that I have 8 chairs left to make, minus the minimum, the smallest of these 2. Why the smallest? Right, that might make more sense down here in a minute. Okay, so I have enough inventory to make 4 chairs, leaving me 6 that I have to make still. Okay, what about down here? This makes a little more sense. Okay, well, what's the minimum number of of chairs I could create with my inventory. Well, I could make 2 of them. Well, I make 2 of them, and that leaves me with a little bit of product left over. Okay, so I can make 7 chairs, but that would leave me with 2 chairs that I could make with crossbars, and 1 more chair I could make with back support. Okay. All right, now the order part, and this is the part I struggled with the most, and if you can come up with a more efficient way, I would appreciate you showing it to me in your homework so that I can kind of make this Excel spreadsheet a little easier. And here's what I did. I said, okay, I have 6 chairs left to make. I don't have any inventory left over the second level for those 6 chairs. So that's this 6 minus 0 chairs that I can make, so 6, times my requirements per chair. I have to have 2 legs per chair, telling me I need 12 legs on order. Same thing here. I have 6 minus 0, so I have 6 chairs I still need crossbars for on the leg assembly, and I need 1 crossbar per chair. So I have 6 times 1, which is 6. Okay, down to this one. Okay, I have 7 chairs left to assembly, not out of my inventory with the back assembly. I have 0 side rails left. So I have 7 chairs times 2 side rails per chair minus this remainder over here. Maybe that'll make more sense here in about 220 seconds. Okay. Down here, I have 7 chairs to make, but with my inventory I could make 2 more. So I really have 4 chairs left to make because for ordering purposes. So with 4 chairs times 1 per chair minus this remaining inventory, I have 5, or actually, 11 crossbars that I need to order. This was the most difficult one. I have 7 chairs left to make, but I have enough back support to make 1 of those chairs, leaving me with 6 chairs. 6 chairs times, I need 3 slats, 3 back supports per chair, so that gets me to 18, but I've got this one remainder left over. So I'm going to subtract it off, which leaves me with 17 back supports that I need to order. Well, hopefully this is helpful. Hopefully you can go back over and over it again if you need to. Hopefully my math makes sense. I am very open to comments on this, especially if you have an easier way. And by the way, the easier way doesn't mean sitting down and doing it on paper. Remember, this is a very simple project. If you look at something like figure 18.5 on page 733, far more complex project. The more complex the project, the less I want to sit down with a piece of paper and figure out my needs in order for me to produce. I want to be able to generalize. I want to be able to say I've got the massively complex, maybe I'm constructing a Rolls-Royce engine for a Boeing 787 that has thousands of parts, and I am tracking when do I need to place orders and how much. And of course this is what this process is all about, is getting my bill of materials together so I can meet my requirements on the demand side. Hopefully this helps.